Welcome back to this week's episode. I have another amazing guest to share with you. I feel so blessed to be able to have all these guests coming on and these conversations and letting people connect in wisdom and experience and just sharing their magic so it gives someone else the opportunity to do the same. And today I have another amazing angel of the world here. Her name is Michele Boshard, and Michele is a digital doula, which I can't wait to dive into that, who helps people birth and grow their online offer and build a tech ecosystem to support it naturally. Welcome, Michele. We're so excited to have you here. And boy, I can't wait to just find out more of how you came to be a digital doula. So feel free to say
Oh,
hello. And if you want to start in there, we can dive right into that.
thank you, and thank you so much for having me, Michelle. We were saying just before we came on. I've been following you for a while now since a reading that you did for me, and it was so accurate and so fantastic. I just like if anybody needs every time somebody needs anything in that realm, I go see Michelle Laine because she's fantastic. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you. Yeah, no, so I'm a digital doula, but it is a funny story how I got here. I'm a mom, of course, and I have a guy who's 19 and nonverbal and self-injurious on the autism spectrum, and a daughter who's 16 and going on 31. And our family journey with his services actually took us down the business pathway because we were not able to find service supports for him. So I ended up actually creating a brick and mortar um, uh, service to bring respite and homeschool into people's lives to give them exhausted special needs parents a break. And it was great for the parents, great for the workers, and great for the kids. But as a business, it wasn't breaking even. But I could see how needed the service was. Like, this is an essential service. It shouldn't be easier to order a pizza than it is to get proper care for your disabled child, right? And so I just really felt strongly that this was something that I needed to pursue, and so I just needed to find the money. So I went on this mama bear hunt, like an FBI agent that we turn into when our kids need something, right? And I did all the things. I looked at crypto and stocks and MLMs and real estate and all the things. And in the process of trying to do that, I realized, you know, uh, maybe I'm in here somewhere too. And that I enjoy, what do I enjoy? And I started thinking about something that my son taught me, because just because he can't speak doesn't mean that doesn't have gifts inside of him. And I love the process of working with him on bringing out his gifts. And I love the process of working with individuals to help them, suss out what it is that they could do as a business, because just because they're not doing business now doesn't mean there's not one in them. So I really feel like each person on the planet is unique, and we all have our natural flow. I call myself the natural entrepreneur because I needed something that fit naturally into my life. I'm a biologist by former training. My mom was a nature artist. She did some of these paintings behind me, and nature has just always been part of part of me. It was natural for me. And then one day I was out walking. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm turning into a natural entrepreneur. So what I want to do is help people fit into their lives around the important things, like the prior, like your kids are a priority, or maybe you've got aging parents, or maybe you're retiring and you want to have a laptop lifestyle, but you still want to put all of the years of skill and knowledge to use. You just want to have a little different lifestyle with it. Or maybe you've got something really unique that you wouldn't be able to sell in a brick and mortar shop, but you want to be able to encapsulate the lived experience or the passion or the skill set that you want into a knowledge product and bring it online. So that's why I got into digital doula work, because I learned all the things and took a bunch of courses and did a bunch of business training, and so now that's what I do. And then I also turned it into a bit of a social purpose enterprise, because, like I say, my goal is to use digital marketing to subsidize respite and homeschool care for families of kids that are complex. So that's me.
What a journey. My gosh, it's helping people, it feels like it's helping people find purpose, but in that next expression, like who they want to be now, even through all the things. And I think that's where we're real similar in our work, just different approaches, which is so much fun to see how everybody brings their magic into the world. It's like I really want women to know, or humans to know, that whatever dream they dream is possible. It's in you because it's meant for you. And so all the unwinding of any beliefs that along the way were even conditioned or programmed get to move out so we can feel the experience of who we are in that. And
100%.
what you're talking about is like, yeah, your beautiful son doesn't, he's got his own way of expressing, he's got his internalized view of the world, but he's got so much wisdom in there as well. And it's so misunderstood. It's such a big distortion in its own right of how the world perceives that as well. It's like we go so freaking fast, we don't slow down enough to just be with what is.
It's been one of the most I've grown so much as a person because of what I've had to learn and had to be able to support him, and I wouldn't trade that for the world now because I'm a far deeper and far more enriched person because of the lessons that I've been able to learn. And I always like to, when I'm working with my clients, I always like to remind them that, they matter no matter who they are or what their passion is, because somewhere in the 8 billion people on the planet, there's going to be beauty about the technology that I work with and that I actually kind of like. So I help them design their offers. And figure out, okay, low, mid, high, how you can do lead magnets, all the different things of, sales funnels or courses or membership communities. And then, so we assess their offer and figure out what they're doing and how, and then we custom build the tech, because some people, everybody's kind of got that unique take, right? And they each matter, and you want them to be as natural in their business as possible, but and supported in the places, like some people play at podcasts, and some people play at newsletters, and some people, love courses, and other people want to do lives or YouTube, or so depending on, we custom tailor the tech to whatever your personal, what's never natural for you, right? And that was just something that I learned, actually from my son, because there's no way that you can shove a square peg in a round hole. And I feel like business, traditional business, has a sort of formulaic, like there may not be like a formula, but it's sort of, it proceeds a different way. And I feel like in this new sort of, especially female-led business realm that's rising, I feel like it's we need to design it around our lives, the actual priorities. Like money isn't the driver anymore. It's our well-being and our expression of our soul's purpose, and but also, yeah, you got to pay the bills, right? So how can you do that and be supported in the things that you hate and that somebody else plays at? And so I just like to design the
Yeah.
tech on and really customize it around them. And I take them through like a 3-month process where we go from, I'm not really, I've got my first client, to I have my audience across all platforms, I'm built out, I have my website and all my tech, and I'm making sales. So it's it can be a daunting for sometimes. You kind of get this place where it's like the death of 1,000 software cuts, where you've got the Kajabi and the ClickFunnels and the MailChimp and all the things and a million subscriptions, and you're like trying to do it all together, and there's a black hole of social media, and I just you can automate so much of that in
Yeah.
a way that nurtures your client. That's what I love to help people do.
Wow, I can appreciate that. I like, as you're describing all that, I was thinking of the multitude of just trying to save a buck and all the different programs, and then you're spending so much time logging into all said programs. It was such a breath of fresh air when I finally found the one that worked for me, and it's like one home base. But I needed to go through those steps to start, right? And so what I love that you're saying, one of my questions was, what is your building the tech ecosystem, but it sounds like you do everything from how you show up visibly online and what your preference is to the back office. And so is that true? Like you're setting up, the flow of email or the website or the landing pages and all those
Yeah.
things. You're teaching those tech pieces. That's really important when you're deciding to come into that online space. So I imagine you do a lot of coaches, healers, professionals, entrepreneurs.
All types. It took me so long to get through that learning curve. Like I had, like by the time you take the 8 week course on this, and then an online training course on that, and then study this and that, and put them all together, and like tinker with things, and then work with your client. It took me probably, well, it was just after COVID ended, because the respite company had shut down, and I was scratching my head. Okay, how can I add value to my community's lives? And online. And so then I started puddling about and trying to figure out how to pivot. So it was one of those COVID birth type
Yeah.
situations. But what took me, what's it been now? 2020 it was, right? So it taking me 3 or 4 years. Now I can package down into 3 months, because I've learned all the tools and all the things. And so we go. I want to, like, basically, we need everybody showing up as their true selves in a natural way that doesn't force things, and I just want to get them there as fast as possible. So that's why I call it a co-creation program, because I basically build the car and then hand you the keys. I
Yeah.
listen to and have, and then I get the tech already, and then it's custom built for you, and it's feels more natural.
Well, that's just the heartbeat of the foundation of everything that can move all the worry out of the way if that's done for you as you're learning to show up. Because I know from experience too, like every level of being on camera or being there consistently and making sure you have that, that's its own lifeblood. But to have someone come in and save the time, like if you're in that space and you're listening in, connect with Michele, because I can promise you years and years and years of trial and error narrowed down into 3 months where you're up and running and doing the things is amazing, and honestly, like we all start with, you don't have to have all the things, but you're eventually going to want the things. And so if you can find that beautiful synergy, then you're ready for the growth as well, which is so good. So that's kind of the capsulation of the designing your online platform. I want to talk a little bit about one thing that you said earlier, but it was is the essence of creating your own reality. And so you probably do a lot of coaching on the other side of that with the disbelief or the fear that might show up, the doubt, the imposter syndrome, the perfectionism, like all the things that may show up in that exampling of I want to create my life with this business, but then you also remember that you get to create your life in all other spaces. And so that balance of being a mom, having the business, it's not either or. Do you experience that quite a bit and do some coaching around that as well?
Absolutely. And just to make sure that I wasn't, that I'm, doing it right, so to speak. Took a lot of training there too. So I'm just finishing up my Proctor Gallagher Institute coaching training around the support around the mindset. And it just in my life, I've experienced how you come up against the wall in terms of fear. You might want to do something, and you can think it out and you can plan it out, but somehow it's like New Year's resolutions, right? The best laid
Yeah.
plans sometimes go awry. And so what really stops us in our subconscious limiting thoughts about, moving from, thinking about something into actual results. And I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm like logistically oriented. I don't like to I like to deal with things as they come up. So that's why I kind of like work it into the progress through, okay, let's take a look at what you want to do, and then let's take a look at where your tech's at, and let's harmonize it in your branding, and then start your things and build your audience. And we take it through just like a logical procedure over the 3 months, and we build the system. So yeah, and you might not start with a full ecosystem, you might start with your one offer, but just like nature, it's I really sort of see things in terms of systems. So even though you might have like a single course, when you're, handling a sales call for your course, that person, if that person's not vibing at that level, you may want to have another either a lot more cost effective or even sometimes a higher offer that they want. And so how all of those fit together into a system is much like for me, the way that a bee and a flower and the earth, or how rocks and water and air all work together. Like it's how the systems are integrated, that and that's mirrored in the tech. And I just find it fascinating that you can design your business the same way nature designs an ecosystem. So, but yeah, creating your own reality is also a passion of mine, and that back to the Proctor Gallagher training, it is about creating your own reality. A lot of the times we chase what we want, and really the shift from kind of pursuing and feeling like you're not ever catching, and like always trying to keep up and scramble, versus when things come with a sense of ease and purpose, is sort of the shift that I like to see in my clients as well, because that it's not, if you exist naturally, I like to see the shift of one. Sometimes I talk about the shift. We've gone from a system, a world where it's sort of been, you had work life and you had home life. And then, COVID happened and it's sort of like, okay, we're going to work at home. And I sort of feel like the next step might be more like, um, we're working. Oh, did I lose it? No, my computer just flipped.
You're good.
Um, that work and life, and then work life together, and then the next thing is like, I want to live and have money come to me. I want to be
Yeah.
and have money attract. And so
Yeah.
I feel like that's the shift that we're moving into, especially with the online space, is that you can craft your purpose digitally and send that signal out that people tune into, and no matter where they are now, they can tune in and reach you.
Yeah, so good. Like in my head, I'm going through like there's an embodiment piece and there's an integration piece and there's the self of all of that piece. And then there's who are you as you show up in your business and allow yourself to receive even more. And then those systems that you have in place enhance it. So what's popping in my mind right now that maybe is a really next step for us to talk about is that relationship where tech can be our friend. So many of us are in habit of like, oh, the algorithm, oh this, oh that. And it's false belief, right? It's tech is here for us not to have it take over, but to work with, to co-create in the essence of the same place as like co-creating with source, God, source, universe. Like we get to be the rhythm with it, right? And so we can't want one thing on one hand and turn our nose up at it at the other. It just doesn't work. We have to choose. And so the space that you're providing feels like this synergy, this foundation of this relationship with tech that gets to grow, and then it gets to be lucrative and fun instead of daunting. And I'm not even
And
sure what.
instead of being, like, I mean, it's that shift of, doing what someone else tells you to do, and,
Yeah,
and owning you,
yeah.
loving you, sharing you, be authentically you, and really being in charge of, because you can own it, right? Like there's no reason why you can't
No.
totally own it.
And it's, you know what, and I want to make sure that we say this because yes to all the things, and maybe this is just my journey. So if I'm the only one, please let me know in the comments below when you guys respond. It's totally okay. But there's that ownership piece, and there's really wanting it, and then there's the owning of it, the belief you can have it. There's a depth of the appreciation, right? So it is really letting go of the judgment, the shoulds, need tos, and have tos of what we've been told or what we've been conditioned with in our life. And I had a lot of those. I've had a lot of those layers to let go of, even beyond the healing. It's like, and now who am I when I step up? And now when I want to do the next level and when I want to go bigger, and then do I let myself go bigger? Can I even dream bigger? There's all of these little like fragments that want to be moved, alchemized into something else. And we don't realize it because we're so blinded in it must be this way instead of
Right.
what is the way we want to integrate and interpret it and be. And when you say unapologetically, like self authority, ownership, and unapologetic, that feels like my entire last 10 years of I was an amazing person. I could do anything you wanted me to do, I could be anything you wanted me to be. But to learn who I was so much resistance. And then
What's natural for you, right?
right? And then being that in that resistance without knowing where the resistance was and putting it all on my business to be the thing. Like there's this sweet little integration spot that I feel is a beautiful opportunity with someone working with you to really understand how they want to express that physically, and then getting to know themselves on that internal plane as well, right? So that
Yeah, no, and it really is a journey of self-discovery, and a business is, 80%, like the 80% of a business success is between the ears of its owner.
yeah,
And we are trained in every way, in or at least Gen X back was, maybe not less now, but we're trained in every way to be and do and have what other people, like what we look externally for our definition.
yeah,
And it takes a lot to really, so okay, I'm not doing that anymore, but now what? And you go on this internal, it's kind of counterintuitive that you come home to yourself and everything's right there in right there. And the having the bravery to step into that and to just say, this is who I am, and this is who I am naturally. I'm a bee, I'm a caterpillar, I'm a tree, I'm a, like you're part of the ecosystem. And I feel right now business, or at least traditional business, has been a bit of an equivalent of agricultural monoculture, right? And the way to re-diversify nature, and re-diversify business, is to live our individual unique self's purpose,
absolutely.
because that's how you repopulate the concepts and the ideas and the local culture and all of the things that have kind of been washed out that we need.
It's those desires, that financial freedom, that time freedom, that, it's restructuring yourself amidst what you want instead of what the world thinks it wants for you. And that's, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a deeper conversation, but it's in essence what you discover as you dive into entrepreneurship. Because I
Yeah.
promise you, you want to grow as a human, become an entrepreneur. Every fear, every doubt, every part of you that you hadn't faced yet is going to rise up on that
Yeah.
journey. It's
And
beautiful.
that's why I love what you do, because it is, the whole numerology and other sides of business that you support is just like fascinating to me. I think of things in terms of like, okay, rocks and trees and that sort of thing. But seeing it from those other kind of angles is like really helpful, and just to notice the patterns and bring and how we operate in the natural systems, right?
Yep. There is always that empowering or disempowering side, and we're somewhere on that spectrum of how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're reacting or taking action or not taking action. Like there's so many beautiful codes within all of these things. How we give, how we receive, if we receive, how we hold ourselves accountable. There's these essences that flow in each of our charts and in the business to help us uncover just what you said, coming back to ourself, to those more empowering decisions. So we can get out of the confusion, out of the indecision, out of the perceived overwhelm, and into clarity, focus, and moving forward. I mean, I've never seen a modality. I know there's so many. My experience isn't in everything, but in my experience with numerology as a tool in my toolkit to be able to help you see you that much more clearly really can quantum leap how fast you can go and where you're headed, because it just gets direct, cuts through the minutia, and helps you understand. You already know anyway. You're just covered in all the life's everythings that you can't see it, right?
Oh, totally. And nobody, I was just posted this morning a Napoleon Hill quote. No one is ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. And
That's
you can't you need to acquire knowledge about yourself
Yes.
before you can become
Right. And
yourself.
as moms, what do? Everyone else first, family first, calendar first. And I think it's like a rite of passage. I don't have any problem with that time in my life,
Yeah,
but never was there a thought of, oh, and you too. It was just
right.
like, do all the things,
Yeah.
right? Do the calendar, be the taxi. And then we talk ourselves into, oh, later in life, I'll do the thing. And if I was to tell myself something, I would say, do it now. And there's always a way. And I think I knew that in an aspect because I would still play there, but I got really good at toe dipping. Like, oh, is the water good enough to jump in versus like being all in? And so it's funny to see those patterns reveal themselves now as the kids are grown and I have the time. There's so many stories we tell ourselves about I don't have the time, and they're not real. They're just, what do you want? And that's the question that gets harder to answer when we're so used to doing what everyone else needs, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I think it's a beautiful rite of passage. I think whenever and however we discover it is as it's always intended it to be, because that voice becomes the hope for someone else, the same age, the younger age, the older age. And I really do believe we're not we're literally limitless. We're not limited in what we can create, what we can build. We also don't have to know everything. And so when we can move out of the way and accept help from someone who's done it and they can produce a way to do it faster, we get to live in the experience of who we are. And then we become fully expressed in that purpose of being who we are, And I promise you, it's the question deep down in your soul, the whisper that said, who am I anymore? That begins you on this journey. And when the student arrives, the teacher appears.
I'm a complete frying pan learner. The universe tries to whisper and then raises its voice and then takes out the frying
We
pan.
used to call the 2x4.
Yes.
You've had all these other signs, but the 2x4 is the one that got you to pay attention. You're like, okay, well, however it works, maybe we get better at seeing the signs coming in beforehand.
Right. And that's sort of why it's like, you know what, it's funny because what you're saying is so true that, oftentimes I'll see, I'll talk with people about their tech and they'll be like, okay, well, I just want to get my website done. I'm like, well, we'll just deal with that all at once. You don't need to
Oh, get them all done now, and then I'm
yeah.
ready. It's like, dude, just
Yeah.
get the frying pan. You'll figure it out when your feet start getting hot.
But I love what I love about doing it is that the growth that they see personally, but then also in their business because they're able to do, it's sort of like, oh, I wish I'd done that 20 years ago, right? Like it becomes that the best next time to plant a tree is today, right? And if you move into a more efficient way, like use technology to automate things that you don't have to do, do things that you hate, like, it lightens not only the logistical load, but also the psychological load because you get happier because you're focused on what you want to focus on
Yeah, you get to be in your zone of genius for that
and your
technology.
purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you also, as an entrepreneur, get to understand where you can ask for that support, where you get to look for not having to spend your time. Where's your time most valuable for you? What is the ebb and flow, and where can you bring in some support to help you? And I think one of the biggest fallacies, I mean, there's a cycle of business growth, but the
Yep.
sooner that we can understand that we can have that support and not have to wait, the sooner we're not burned out and we're
100%.
actually moving forward, bringing in income, bringing in our ideas, birthing those things into the world. And sometimes it's so backwards in the perception of it. When I get to a certain place, then, and you'll know, and it's a fine line, but it's just that next level of being all in with trusting that you're going to be the one to be able to support this growth as well. So at
Yeah.
least that's in my experience, but it surely can go faster with that there versus swimming in your head with all the things that aren't done yet, you know?
Yeah, because you get more confident. If you want to build confidence, confidence comes from action. And so you take a step and have a result, and then you're like, yeah, I can do this. And certainly that's been
Yeah.
my experience just helping people build the tech. Like I
Yep.
feel like that's a concrete thing. I can do that. I can help people with this.
It's a
And
breath of fresh air to have that kind of support and help.
Well, and I'm sure you with, you're like, okay, yeah, I can show them what's happening here. And you gained like confidence and built your own self. And that comes out in your business because yeah, I've seen like how fantastic your feed has even gotten over the,
Thank
over the
you.
last while. Yeah, right. So sorry, a digital marketer watches that
It's
stuff.
fine. No,
So
I love that. I mean, that's nice. It's nice to have that reflection. Thank you. And yeah, I did. I asked for help, and it's been an interesting journey to be on the other side going, I launched all the things I wanted to launch. All the steps were in place. All this wasn't, I didn't have to do it. I just had to like delegate it. Like I knew what I wanted to have done, but for me to do it is a couple hours. For someone else to do it is 10 minutes, right? And I was just like, what? So then I get to understand and discover and be in the embodiment of who I am when I step into those things are done now. Now go get it. Right. And
right.
there's a new layer of that every single time. So I really appreciated that and I've noticed it and I've loved it. And I get to be in the space of now what's next after all of this has come to life, not like, oh well, let me pre-decide how it's supposed to be and then never get there.
And now
Right.
you're shining light on people and businesses that that can help people. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, no,
I
you get
think
to
I think
play at
we
what you're good at.
we need to keep the conversation open on all levels because we don't just go from zero to six figures right away. And even if we do get to six figures, there's always going to be a seven figure, an eight figure, and not like there. What is it's going to be the same essence of limitation in a different package. And that's where, like when you were talking about numerology, we get to actually understand that pattern. So where we can learn to leverage and navigate it instead of fight it. And
And to create our own reality, right? Like
yeah,
that's where we decide what once we know who we are and what we want, we decide how we're going to go get it and what that looks like. And
how
when we
long we want to spend on yes, like oh my gosh, yes. And as a mom with responsibilities, as a business owner with other businesses, like it's okay for it to look how you want it to look.
that distinguishes you in the marketplace. Like Wendy's and McDonald's go side by side because not everybody likes McDonald's and not everybody likes Wendy's. And so just because maybe you're doing something someone else might, you think, oh no, somebody's already doing that. No, you're not doing that.
Right, what is
You're
it like
here
when you
for
step
this.
in? Feel like that's like 7 years of learning right there. What's it like when you speak it, when you do it, when you take all your unique experiences and expressions from this lifetime and share it, right? Which is your one unique sauce and nobody has the same mix, even if it's talking the same thing, which I think is a beautiful way to wrap up that conversation with us. And let us know how people can find you. Where's the best place to locate you and what do you have upcoming?
Well, I have a couple things. I have my website, naturalentrepreneur.ca. So you can go there to book a call if you want to talk, like if you want to do an hour, do a free 1 hour offer ecosystem assessment. You fill out a form and then I sit with you and we talk about, your offer and see what's what. I have an 8-week program that goes from, basically I have no idea what I would want to do ever. And I don't even know where to start to I got my first sale in 8 weeks. And then I have my 3-month co-creator program where you've maybe had your first sale or you had a couple clients, you're kind of hitting that, oh, I can only fit so many in because I got all this other social media stuff to do and how to, prevent that death of 1,000 software cuts and just like
Yeah.
really bring everything together and nurture your clients and build your audience and accelerate you and harmonize your tech. So that's the co-creator program. And so yeah, but people are welcome to join my free Facebook group as well, just to kind of like tune in and get some freebies and stuff. So yeah, that's the Natural Entrepreneur.
Perfect. And we'll put all those links in the show notes below so people can find you and find all the things. And how I love ending these podcasts is just to invite your head into your heart and sit for just a minute and just from your heart share what is your experience? What is your definition? And how do you relate to the words purpose, presence, and prosperity? What does that mean for you?
Um, I think that you have presence when you have purpose. and that leads you to prosperity.
Mm,
Because if you are centered in yourself and you know who you are and you're honoring that and not ignoring it or putting aside or not taking steps towards that, what you can't miss. The universal clockworks will you become part of the universal clockworks. You bring people gifts, gifts are brought to you, and you, by expressing your purpose, you have a presence, you have meaning, you matter, and that naturally just kind of tracks into prosperity.
I love that. It's beautiful. I love everyone's interpretation and definitions of it. It's so beautiful to hear, especially as we continue to have guests and reiterations
It's a
with it.
really great question. Really great question.
Everybody goes, hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. And it feels like the journey and how the journey continues and why I have, beyond my podcast name, have that purpose, presence, and prosperity in the tagline because I think it's everything in discovering who you are. So I love it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a very much an honor, and yeah, look forward to continuing to watch what you do. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Likewise. And we'll catch you guys again next week. Bye for now.